Welcome, everybody. We are live on Instagram. This is being recorded for YouTube. We're going to be going over the astrology of the week ahead, and we're going to be doing some tarot before we do that. So let's wait for people to come on onto the live, and let me get to shuffling. Good morning. Hi. Let me wave at everybody as they come in. Actually, let me open up my blinds to let some light in. While people are coming in, let's open up the blinds, let in the light. How's everybody doing? How's this eclipse season been for everybody? Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Grand Rising. Hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We're going to be pulling some tarot first to kind of dive into the energies of the week or just peek into the energies of the week. And then we're going to be talking about the stars. Otra semana, erratic, definitely. Hello. Yeah, this is definitely, we've seen so many people pass away in the last week since the eclipse. Um, there's been a lot of people that have passed away. It's been kind of crazy. We also just yesterday, the fall of that of the Mexican cartel leader, the fall of the Mexican cartel leader and the chaos that it's caused in Mexico. And then just today we had what was it? What country was it? I posted it in my stories. What's his name? Jeb. He got elected prime minister. And I was looking at his chart. Rob Jetten, yeah, Netherlands. So Rob Jetten got sworn in today as the new prime minister of the Netherlands. He's the youngest and first openly gay prime minister. He's 38. It's crazy because I was actually looking at his chart, Rob Jetten, the new prime minister of the Netherlands, and he was born the same year as me. He was born 87, and so he's in Aries. He has North Node Sun Jupiter conjunction in Aries at early degrees Aries, and it's crazy because Rob Jetten, the new prime minister of the Netherlands, Saturn and Neptune and Aries pretty much are like within a degree or two away from his Sun Jupiter conjunction. And guess what? He also has Aquarius placements, just the same as Mamdani. So it's really cool to see how with this solar eclipse in Aquarius, we're seeing leaders have a fall from grace. But we're also seeing newly elected leaders and leaders kind of stepping into power like a younger generation of leaders is and that's really what the age of Aquarius is going to be showing us. It's going to be showing us leaders that are possible, teenagers or that are younger than what we expect. And kind of like this new generation of politics, this new mentality, this new way of approaching politics, which is more communal, it's more egalitarian, it's more open-minded, it's more progressive, right? So it's really cool to see how these eclipses are kind of showing us the way forward, and I think that's going to continue to be a theme with this eclipse, this solar eclipse and Aquarius cycle. We have one more week left. We're going to be having our lunar eclipse in Virgo coming up on March 3rd, I believe. March 3rd, March 2nd, somewhere around there. We'll talk about that today. So when we're in eclipses, right? When we are in between eclipses, what we see is, people getting exalted and moving up and being thrown into, better, more optimistic conditions or finding success or like kind of karmic alignment with achievement. But we also see people have a fall from grace and we see people go through loss or endings or death or tragedies. And we've seen a lot of that. There's also been a lot of crisis, and it makes sense because last week for the week ahead tarot, we talked about the eclipse, but for the tarot portion, I don't know if you guys remember, I was talking about the Tower card, and the Tower card ended up showing up in the tarot reading. And so one of the big themes that's been happening for a lot of people, and it's been happening with clients over the last week, is this energy of crisis in like drama and like sudden tragedy, sudden losses. So I had a client who had to cancel or reschedule their appointment because they had a pet crisis. I had another client who let me know, I let them know, hey, it's eclipse season. There's something with the job that's a little off. They ended up getting laid off. I had another client who had a parent who has a parent that had a health crisis. And that's what happens with eclipses, you know? Eclipses, they kind of sometimes are the pin that breaks the camel's back in our life, you know, or that one thing that we've been anticipating, or maybe if someone's already going through a health struggle or something like that, like the pinnacle of that health struggle like culminates, or you know they've been going through tension at the job and all of a sudden the eclipse energy, you know, releases the tension by getting them fired or getting them let go or them suddenly leaving, right? Or stuff like that, or even the conditions of the job changing. A boss gets fired, you know, the company gets bought out. Things like this happen when we are in eclipse energy. So, you know, I just want you guys to be very receptive and open to any sudden shifts or changes in life direction during this eclipse season. Everybody coming in, welcome. We're just talking about the eclipses. We just tapping in. I just went live about 5, 6 minutes ago. We're gonna pull some tarot right now. What I'm talking about is sudden shifts and changes when it comes to life direction, and you know things that are good and positive, like you know changes of fortune, but also changes like fated things, shifts of fate as well, where there's like tragedy, loss, and things like this, or things get taken away from you, right? Or change is forced upon you. So we just need to keep that in mind, you know, we need to keep that in mind right now. Also, this download came to me, was it this morning or last night? So we are in the year of the fire horse. And what came to me is how Aries energy, right? We have Saturn, Neptune, who just went into Aries, and you know the energy of one and fire, the fire horse, right? We're in the when it comes to Chinese zodiac, is this energy that's very fast, but it's also destructive. The fire element is very destructive. And one of the things I want you guys to notice is that the fire element doesn't, when it exists or shows up in nature, spontaneously through lightning and things like this, right? Brush fires, whatever. It destroys everything and it levels and layers everything. And I want you guys to think about the relate how Mars, right? Planet Mars, the planet of fire, right? Um, rules Aries and Scorpio. And so, you know, Mars, it's not just about first house energy. It's not just about, you know, Aries energy, pioneering and, you know, being powerful and being strong and being autonomous and being individual and like kickstarting things and beginning things, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So Aries is literally the sign of life. It's like the spark of life, like the initial point of creation, right? That's Aries. But Mars is also Scorpio, death, the purge, right? The rupturing and the composting of things. Like when something is set on fire, or like when land is set on fire, think about like a brush fire, right? Everything is set on fire and everything's burned to ash. And then all of a sudden it has to regrow and be reborn. And I want you guys to think about that with the year of the fire horse, because the download that I got is that there's going to be sudden things in our life that catch fire, that are set ablaze, where it's just like destroyed in a moment, or we leave it behind in a moment, or it's taken away from us in a moment. Okay. And it's about the purification, right? The fire element is one of purification and cleansing. In a lot of cultures, it's not the water element that they use for cleansing and purification, it's the fire element that they use, right? So sometimes, you know, there's rituals. I do believe in Islamic culture. There's a cleansing ritual that they do where they burn your hair. Actually, you do a cleansing by burning some hair with certain elements, or with like certain incense or certain herbs or something like this. So this idea that, you know, the year of the fire horse is also going to be about sudden cleansing and purification, right? The burning or the rupturing of things. And this can look very, very chaotic and very destructive, right? And it can happen very, very fast and very suddenly. And so we're from one day to the next, you know, everything could shift and change. And I just want you guys to keep this in mind. I want you guys to be very aware of, you know, Yes, the fire element is very exciting and it's about birth and creation and it's about, starting new things and being an individual. And there's a lot of fun and excitement and passion, right? That's connected to it. Desire and passion, but there's also destruction. There's also death, that's connected to the fire element in some type of way. And it's that relationship when we're talking about, Mars ruling Aries, Mars also rules Scorpio. And I want you guys to think about this, how the fire element sometimes purges things, right? It ruptures things, it purifies things, it cleanses things, right? In a moment, very quickly as well. So this kind of fast moving energy. And I just want you guys to understand, like, this is a year, but we're also with these eclipse energy during eclipses like this. Um, where everything speeds up and everything seems like it's moving very fast. Like time is moving fast. Decisions, we feel like we're pressured to make really quick decisions, right? Things like this. So, being the spiritually centered and spiritually grounded and spiritually focused people that we are, one of the things I really would advise, even in, when we are in between eclipses, like in this moment right now, you really got to slow down. You got to like take a break. You got to take a breather. Sometimes when we are in moments of crisis or moments of anxiety or where things are happening very, very fast, we can, make choices and decisions that are out of fear or out of anxiety or out of paranoia, right? And we don't really, and we kind of self-sabotage because we feel the pressure of the moment, right? And so I just want you guys to be very aware of this. This, you need to like slow down and be grounded and be present with yourself. And even if the house is burning and the fires, you're in a burning room, there's that really funny meme where there's a dog and he's like has his cup of coffee and he's like, this is fine. And then like the entire house, he's like in a living room that's all on fire, like the entire house is burning, and he's like sitting there smiling, like this is fine. Like even if you're in that moment, like stay calm, don't panic. If you are finding yourself in your life in a moment of like crisis and tragedy or sudden shift or sudden change, like breathe, slow down, take stock of what's going on before you like act, and things like this. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, okay. Let me go ahead and pour myself. I hear my water boiling. Let me go ahead and pour myself some tea, and then we're gonna go ahead and pull these cards and do a reading on the energy of the week. Okay? Give me like a minute. I'm just gonna pour my tea really fast. I hear my water boiling. My water. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. Now. All right. Now we can really start the live. Louis has his tea. Louis has his tea. Okay. Go ahead and get my little paper towels. Hold on. Where am I going to put this? I'm going to lay this over here. Just like this. All right. Let's go ahead and pull some cards. Let's see, tap into the energies of the week. See what Spirit has to say. See what people are saying. So I transplanted from SoCal to NorCal in hopes of a more regular nervous system, and it's been chaos since I got here. I went to the farmer's market in my neighborhood and got assaulted by someone, some chick and her man. What the hell? Bring the tea, sis. Love it. Been there for 3 weeks now. Enforcing boundaries. Yes, yes. Love that for you. All right. Let's go. Let's see what he wants to say. What do we got here? Oh, 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 talk about fast moving energy. We got the Knight of Swords coming out as the first card, and then we got the Four of Wands. Love that. We have a man who's out in the courtyard lost. I feel bad for people that have to deliver to my I live in like a apartment complex and it has like a courtyard. I feel bad for like delivery people like Door Dashers and FedEx and stuff because This area in general, it's like so confusing, you know? I would not want to deliver the people in this area because this area is very, very confusing. You have to know where you're going, otherwise you will not be able to find a certain building or complex. Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's pull a few more cards. Da, 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 da. Okay. All right. We got the Six of Wands, nice. Four of Wands, Six of Wands, Six of Cups, Two of Swords in reverse, Ace of Pentacles, and the Five of Pentacles in reverse on the bottom of the deck. So right away, the Ace of Swords, or the Knight of Swords, my bad, sorry. This is very fast, quick moving energy. This is anxiety, this is paranoia, this is overthinking. This is a lot of just like excessive mental stress is what I'm hearing and what I'm getting, or even us feeling pressure to make very quick moving decisions or choices, or us even having communication with people this week that can be, we can get into an argument or we have a disagreement with someone or we take something the wrong way. This makes a lot of sense. This Knight of Swords coming out. This makes a lot of sense, and this ties into the astrology of this week, I believe. And this is because Mercury is going retrograde. Yes. Mercury is stationed at 22 already, pretty much. He's at 22 degrees Pisces, and he goes retrograde on Thursday, February 26th. I was like, okay, why is this like card of like decision making and communication like coming through so strongly? And why is it coming out as the first card? It's because we have a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. So you know what this is telling me? What this Knight of Swords is telling me? Reversals of decisions and choices. People that we haven't spoke to, or people that we've been wanting to talk to, or people that we have something to say. We got a bone to pick with them. We want to have these conversations. We feel the need to speak up or speak out. We feel a need to address an elephant in the room. We feel the need to talk some shit and to speak our piece, okay? Because we're bothered about something. There's something that's bothering us. It's been bothering us for a while about somebody. And we got to say something about it. We got to talk about something. But let me tell you, with the Knight of Swords coming out like this, be mindful of your communication this week. Be clear and direct with the way that you express yourself. It's a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and Pisces is the sign of delusion. It's a sign of fantasy. It's a sign of miscommunication. It's a sign of silence. Okay? It's the sign of hearing things in a muted way or hearing what you want to hear. So one of the things as a Pisces rising, one of the things I say, it's a running joke with myself, is I have constructive hearing. Okay. Constructive hearing. And let me explain what this is. This is hearing what you want to hear, projecting your own desires, your own thoughts, your own dreams, sometimes your own limerence onto people's words. So they're telling you one thing, and you're like, oh, and they're telling me this, this, and that. And they're telling you, no, like, I don't like you. I don't want to be with you, you know? And then you're hearing, oh, they're just playing hard to get. Like, oh, like they just want me to try harder. And like, they just. So not being delusional around communication, not like projecting what it is that you want, or even like ignoring and avoiding communication with people. Like, not. Like someone's telling you something, you're like, no, I'm not, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't hear that. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. I'm gonna pretend I didn't know. No, this is a very important week with this Mercury retrograde, and this Mercury retrograde is going to be around for 3 weeks, starting on February 26th. So this Mercury retrograde is going to be going well throughout Pisces season. Okay. We need to be very direct and very clear and very intentional around our communication. Okay. and we need to kind of like set boundaries. And the Knight of Swords is a very aggressive card. Look at this card. This is not a soft card. This is an aggressive card. This is a card of arguments and fighting. Whenever I pull this card in a love spread, or whenever I pull this card in a spread that's involving like people, this is usually about an argument or around or like a piece of communication or around someone that's continuously being mean. That's like it's like this also shows up sometimes as verbal abuse. The Knight of Swords also shows up sometimes as a card of verbal abuse. And so, with that being said, with the Knight of Swords being the first card out in this week's spread, and with Mercury going retrograde this week, um, we need to like be mindful of communication. That's what the Knight of Swords is saying. There may be some kind of reversing of decisions or choices that you made as Mercury goes retrograde in Pisces. So we might be very much like, oh, I was gonna do this. I have plans to do this, but no, I'm gonna do this instead. Or we may have been like considering something or considering a choice, and then we may decide to like not do it. Like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. Nope, I don't want that. I was kind of leaning towards yes for a while, but now that Mercury's retrograde, now I can see things possibly a little bit more clearly. Now that I have more of the information, or now that I see what this fucking thing is, I don't want it no more. Now that I see who this person is, now that I see what this job is really about, now that I see, what the dynamic is with this friendship, I don't really want it no more. It's okay. I'm good. I'm good off that. I'll lay off that. Like I'll pass. It's like this energy of like apathy and like I'll pass. So I think we need to really honor that. If we are feeling this need to reverse a decision or reverse a choice, or we all of a sudden something that we desired or wanted or something that we thought was good or healthy, or we had some kind of vision with it. Oh, I can see myself with this thing, whatever, in the future. And all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, it's not in alignment with that vision or with that dream. You need to respect that and honor that and listen to that. Okay, very important. Okay. All right. So the next two cards after the Knight of Swords is we have the Four of Wands and the Six of Wands. And I really love these cards. These are very positive, joyous cards, especially when they come out upright. These are cards of ceremony and celebration. This is the card, this is the card of homecoming. So this is like literally a guy coming back from like a war, and he's coming back victorious, right? And the Four of Wands, this is to me, this is the Ten of Cups in the fire element, in the wands element, or of the wands cards. This is like the Ten of Cups for me. The Four of Wands is like the Ten of Cups for me. So this is the four is the energy of family. It's the energy of home. It's energy of stability and security, right? And four is the number of family, and six is the number of love and romance. It's the number of connection and partnership. But these are both fire cards, right? Fire element. So you know what I'm getting? I'm getting us with this, Year of the Fire Horse, Four of Wands, Six of Wands coming out, moving towards things that we're passionate about, that bring us joy, that bring us a sense of stability and security, and that also make us feel alive. So there's this energy of with the Four of Wands and the Six of Wands this week. We need to move towards things or start cultivating a foundation or start building a foundation of things that we're passionate about, things that make us feel inspired and motivated. Also, moving towards people that are warm. So, this is very interesting. There's this energy of moving towards people that are warm, that are affectionate, that are family oriented, that are stable, that want to build with us, that want to grow with us, that want to live with us. It's kind of like it's this energy of moving towards people or even cultivating connections or relationships with people that you can like live with, that you can like buy a home with, that you can like have a baby with, right? Like that you can like start a family with. Like that's what this energy is about. And if it's not giving you that, if it's not giving you like this deep sense of safety and security and this like excitement for the future and this like where you feel like passion, you feel devotion and all this energy, then it's like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Or how do we need to shift or change directions possibly in order to start building towards that, right? This is a very I'm gonna show you the other cards that came out with this as well. The Six of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles are two other cards that came out as well. after this, the Six of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles. And this is about opportunity. This is about new beginnings. This is about, whenever the Ace of Pentacles comes out, I think about this. I think about this card as like God giving us an opportunity, like giving us a new job, giving us better health, giving us a solution to a problem. He's like, here you go. Let me give you this big shiny coin, right? Like giving us some money, giving us a lotto win. Like that's how I think about the Ace of Pentacles, right? This is like God's hand. It has a lot to do with divine intervention too. The aces, for me, when I pull them in tarot, have a lot to do with divine intervention, divine opportunity, right? And with the Six of Cups, the Six of Wands, the Four of Wands, and the Ace of Pentacles coming out, I really think we need to be thinking about the future, future potential, where we're moving towards, where we're going. These cards are about things working out, problems being solved, opportunities being presented to us, right? And there's this really strong message coming through of needing to leave behind or move away from certain karmic family patterns um, that we're aware of and that we know about that continue to hold us back. That's why the Four of Wands is coming out here. There's something about karmic family patterns holding us back from opportunity or from success or from achievement in some type of way. So this can be like you come from a family of people that are always used to working for other people, but you're like the first entrepreneur in your life, right? So you have a lot of doubt, a lot of insecurity, and you may be even getting pushback from family where they're telling you, "Oh, get a job, get a job, get a job." And you're like, "No, I want to work for myself. I want to be autonomous. I want to start my own business." You don't really feel supported. So for you, it's kind of like breaking this karmic pattern of working for others, of being a servant to others or serving others and like being more autonomous or working for the self, right? This can also be about a karmic pattern of addiction that runs in the family. And you have family members that are super talented. They have wonderful personalities. They have great voices. They could sing. They're very intelligent. They're charismatic. They're handsome. They're, pretty people, whatever. But then it's the karma of addiction that is holding everyone back from success. It keeps destroying the family. It tears the family apart. It makes them bad parents. It makes them toxic people, right? So having to free ourselves or liberate ourselves from a karmic pattern of addiction so that we could claim the full success and like the good dharma that runs in the family lineage, right? So there's this big message of needing to take a look at family patterns and how those karmic family patterns are keeping us stuck or blocked or how we need to break away from them to set a new precedent, to create opportunity for ourselves and to move forward in some type of way. Okay. Ace of Pentacles coming out. Pay attention to, for this week, pay attention to opportunities. People get wanting to help you out. People wanting to give you a hand. People are like, oh, here, I got some money for you. Oh, I got this job for you. Oh, I got this, event for you that where you can like make some money. You know what I mean? Oh, you want to go into business together, like things like this. Be mindful of these kind of like opportunities, okay? Ace of Pentacles is about an offering. It's about a divine offering that's coming through in the material world, right? Because it's a pentacle. So this is like earth energy. So this is like money, work, health, the body, material opportunities, things like this. Um, Another thing I gotta say, so I'm gonna pull these two cards of this spread up like apart, and just because these two cards in themselves have a message. Just these two. Okay. Six of Cups and the two of Swords in reverse. Okay. So this is about the Six of Cups is a card of love and romance. It's a card of affection. It's a card of also nostalgia. So it's like when you're thinking about things of the past, romanticizing things of the past, when you're like going back to, oh, let's say you had really good high school years, or you had really good childhood, or you had a memory of, a vacation you went to when you were young, and it just like really left it, and you like go back to that place sometimes, that moment in your life where it's like so sweet and so kind. Like that's what this card is about. It's about nostalgia and it's about this like love and it's about connection and it's about this like softness but there's an element of longing to this card. Longing, oh, longing for something, either longing for something in the past or longing for something in the future, right? And then the Two of Swords in reverse, this is a card of, especially when it comes out in the reverse, this is a very mental card. This is a card of thinking It's usually a card of decision making and choices. But it's you see the moon here, you can see that this person has a blindfold on and they're like holding like this, like they have swords like at their neck pretty much, right? Because what this is a card about this is a card of like being torn between two choices or two decisions. And this is a card of not using the mind or the intellect to make a choice or decision, but using the intuition. This is why we have the ocean in the back, and this is why we have the moon at the very top of the card. Because it's about using your emotion, using your gut, using your stomach to make a choice or a decision, going with how you feel about it. Both of these cards are very watery cards, they're very sentimental. They have a lot to do with emotion and feeling. So the Two of Swords in reverse and the Six of Cups coming out, this is about letting go of romance from the past. This is about not being delusional or not being a hopeless romantic or even not carrying any kind of victim mentality when it comes to love and relationships. And this is also about being very clear emotionally with how someone is making you feel. And that information that you're getting from your emotional body around how that person makes you feel is enough to make a choice or a decision around that connection and around that relationship or whatever. If it doesn't make you feel good, if it doesn't make you feel joyous, if it doesn't bring you peace, if it makes you feel down, if it makes you feel abandoned, if it makes you feel rejected, if it makes you feel lost, if it makes you feel confused, if it makes you feel less than, if it makes you feel insecure, if it's making you doubt yourself, baby, it's not for you. It's a no. Trust what your feelings are telling you. A lot of times we're like looking for information. We're looking for the mind. We're looking for the text message. We're like replaying the words in the conversations, right? To get the information or to make the decision or to like get how we real to trust what your heart is telling you. Trust what your feelings are telling you. That's enough. You don't need any proof. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to go back and rummage through the mind and rummage through the conversation. You don't need to do all that. Okay? This is a very important thing with this Six of Cups and the Two of Swords coming out in reverse. There's a very important thing this week where we have to address the way that we are engaging with others, the way that we are emotionally invested into others, and how those emotional investments are causing us some kind of woundedness or some kind of tension or pain. And this doesn't necessarily have to be about love. This can also be about you're very emotionally invested in, having a good, healthy relationship with your mom or your dad, but all they keep giving you is neglect, miscommunication, misunderstanding, arguments, fights. They don't really see you, support you. You try to talk to them about things and they shut you down. Why go back? Why try to entertain that? Why continue to push up against that if they're not ready? They're not prepared or they're not able. They're not capable. They don't have the capacity to see you, to feel you, to understand you, to show up for you. So you keep going back. And every time you go back, what do you get more of? You get more neglect. You get more trauma. You get more abuse, you know? It's like, it's like, oh, here, give me a little bit more salt. I just want to, rub some more salt in it. I just want to make, oh, the pain, the burn. Ooh, it feels so good. Like, baby, no. What are we doing? A little masochistic, honestly. It's a little masochistic, y'all. Gotta take a look at your masochistic tendencies. Why is it that we like to hurt ourselves? It's because you know what it is? We want that person to love us. We want that person to value us. We want that person to understand us. We want that person to see us. But you know what? They're not able to. They're incapable. They're not able to. Because you know why? They don't see themselves. They don't love themselves. They don't respect themselves. They have some weird ego shit going on. They got some jealousy, envy shit going on. They got some pride, arrogant shit going on. They got some insecurity. They got some mental health stuff going on. They got some shit going on. So why? You know? Why go back when all you have to do is move forward? Spirit is saying there's better things for you, you know? For us. I'm gonna say us. I'm gonna throw myself in there too. There's better things. We got something better for you on the horizon. We got something better. Six of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles. But you need to decide to move forward. This is about a decision. Okay, this is about a decision. That's what this is. Are you gonna like stay stuck back here? Are you going to continue to romanticize and fantasize and be delusional and have false hope and project their false expectations and be a victim and continue to get wounded and continue to like be stuck? Or Ace of Pentacles, are you going to move forward? Are you going to like reach for something new? Are you going to set a new foundation? Are you going to invest in the things or the people, the places, the jobs, the work that gives back to you, that really values you and appreciates you, right? Because the Five of Pentacles came out as on the bottom of the deck. The Five of Pentacles. Look at this card. Oh, poverty, tragedy. Oh, caught in the middle of a winter storm, you know? And what I love about the Five of Pentacles, this is what I love about the fives in general, okay? About all the fives. Five of Pentacles, Five of Swords, Five of Cups, Five of Wands. If you look at all the five cards, by the way, none of them are easy. All the five cards are a bunch of are they're tough, okay? And the Five of Pentacles, right? Let me tell you what I love about the five though, okay? About the number five. The number five is the point of change in the number sequence. So five is between one and nine. So it's like right in the middle. And what the five indicates when we pull out fives or when a five shows up, it has a lot to do with a sudden shift or a sudden change. Not sometimes it's not sudden, sometimes it could be over a period of time where like things are shifting or things are changing. And but we're caught in a moment of misfortune or of loss, of tragedy, right? And what I love about the Five of Pentacles is salvation is available to us, but we just got to go ahead and we got to knock on the door and ask for help and ask for support. So the whole message of the Five of Pentacles here is this right here, this building in the back, this is actually a church and this is a door right here. When we see these people on the outside of this church, right? And they're like caught in a storm and they're sick and they're impoverished and all this. But with the message of the five is something you just gotta knock. Just gotta knock. And there may be someone or somebody that has some support for you, that has an opportunity for you, that has a home for you, that has a bed for you for the evening. That's the message, right? And so many times with the Five of Pentacles, and this card comes out, we're so caught up in the tragedy, in the loss, in the victimhood of the situation that we're blind to the blessings and the opportunity and the help and the salvation that's available to us. Right, just right there, just around the corner. And all we have to do is knock. But we're so caught up in the drama and the crisis of our own life, right? We're so caught up in the tragedy. We're so invested in the negative, the pessimistic, what's not working, what's not good, going good for us, right? We're not paying attention to the gratitude, to the possibility, to the potential, to the salvation, you know? And so, with that being said, I think we need to be very mindful of being caught up in lack mentality, being caught up in, a mentality of tragedy or things not working out or being overly fixated on the sadness or the loss or the grief. Like we need to be very mindful of this week. We need to stay optimistic and positive, and we need to be very intentional where we're putting our thoughts and where we're putting our energy. And we also need to be like moving forward. Like as the spirit is saying, like what is the plan? What's the future goal? What's the ambition? Invest in the relationships, invest in the connections that can really pour into you, that can give back to you. If it doesn't make you feel valuable or worthy, if it doesn't make you feel appreciated, if it doesn't align with your values, okay, if it's not in alignment with your values, then like don't mess with it. You know what I mean? And this is even like sometimes it's just like about respect. Sometimes it's like, I want to work in a place that where I feel I'm respected by my bosses, I'm respected by my coworkers. And all of a sudden what happens is you're continuously being disrespected or your boundaries are being overstepped, right? Sometimes that is enough. The lack of respect is enough for you to be like, "Oh, no, this is not for me." And what we do so many times is we compromise our values because we think there's something beautiful about it or we think there's something, you know, valorous about it, like or because we want somebody so bad or because we want something so bad. So what we do is we continuously let it disrespect us or we sacrifice our values or compromise our values in order to obtain that thing, or in order to have that thing or that person or whatever. And then once we have it, all of a sudden we're a stranger to ourselves because the whole pathway towards attaining that thing, there's been so much self-betrayal and so much self-neglect and so much going against their own values that you're not even going to recognize yourself anymore by the time you get it. You know, you'd be like, damn, I all the good I've had to leave behind, right? Or I look at all the self-betrayal I've done just to go ahead and achieve this thing or have this thing, right? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So I really want you guys to think about that. Like think about this week, like, take stock of the things in your life and be like, does this really align with my values? Is this really align with my desires? Is this really align with my passions, right? And if it doesn't, something's got to shift or something's got to change, because what I'm really getting, and this is like the time, y'all. Like, come on, you're the fire horse. We just had a solar eclipse in Aquarius with Saturn, who just went into the first sign of the zodiac, 0 degrees Aries with Neptune, right? So this is like, it's like this is the time to really pivot and move towards a new direction, like move towards building a new foundation in some type of way. Like this is the time, okay? And that's what this tarot spread is definitely reinforcing. All right. Love you all. All right. That's it for the tarot. That's it for the tarot. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into the astrology of the week. So, whoo, lordy, lordy, lordy. Even right now, the astrology of the moment is nuts. I was looking at the transits for today, and the moon's in Taurus on Uranus right now, and the moon is squaring Mars, and we have a Mars Uranus square building. Lordy Jesus, oh Lord Jesus, what are you doing to us? We got some very chaotic astrology. So, what are we moving away from, right? Well, we are right in the middle of our solar eclipse in Aquarius cycle. So, we had our solar eclipse in Aquarius on the 17th, I believe. Was it the 17th, y'all? Remind me, remind me, remind me. Yeah, it was the 17th. Yeah. So, that was 17th. That was 6 days ago. So we have one more week left of this solar eclipse in Aquarius cycle before we have our lunar eclipse in Virgo, which will be coming up, I believe, on the 3rd. Let me double check. Hold on. I think it's the 3rd. Lunar eclipse in Virgo, my bad. Yep, March 3rd. Mm-hmm. And then in between these two events, we have Mercury going retrograde this week in Pisces. Okay. So let me go back to where we're at today. It's going to go back to today. So what do we got going on? We got the moon in Taurus today, and we have um Mars in Aquarius building into a square with Uranus. If you have anything around 27 degrees of a fixed sign, Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, or Scorpio, I need you to be very alert and aware of this square that perfects on Thursday, February 26th, 3 days from now. Okay? Because this square between Mars and Uranus brings a lot of chaos and a lot of tension. It brings rupturing, it brings accidents, it brings falls, it brings people tripping and falling, it brings sudden, like people feel very chaotic, it brings erratic choices and decisions. It can also make people's behavior be very erratic, where they do something, where they fucking reach their wits' end or something, things like, sorry, excuse my language, but they reach their wits' end or something, or they feel very rebellious and they're very, no, I don't want to do this. And it's interesting because we had, I don't know, Shia LaBeouf needs to get out of New Orleans. That's all I know. This man had the solar eclipse in Aquarius on his rising sign. He has a 28-degree rising in Aquarius, and he has Uranus squaring his rising right now. And Shia LaBeouf, man, you need to go home. The man went to jail for a night, had a moment, woke up the next day, got released from prison, and went back to partying. Like, I don't know. But this kind of like chaotic Aquarian energy, Uranus and Taurus squared the solar eclipse on Aquarius that we have. And then we have Mars coming on to the eclipse point. So, right, February 26th, 27th, Thursday, Friday of this week, Mars is going to be at the degree in Aquarius. He's going to be at 27, 28 degrees that we had our solar eclipse a week and a half ago. Come Thursday, come Friday, right? So, this is why we're seeing like what's going on in Mexico. This Mars square Uranus, like define like the rebels, going against the authorities, like war breaking out in the city and stuff like this, the solar eclipse in Aquarius had a third house Saturn, right? So if you put Aquarius on the rising, what you get in the third house is Aries, and that's where Saturn had just moved into for the eclipse. So it's interesting how in Mexico with what's going on, we're seeing like kind of like guerrilla warfare breaking out in the cities. In Puerto Vallarta, there's like fires everywhere, and they like all the cartel was setting fires to stores and to cars and stuff like this. It's how they create. It's like how they create chaos. And so with this energy, I just want you guys to be very mindful of this kind of like chaotic, destructive energy that is around. And it can impact you most directly if you are someone that has placements around 27 degrees of a fixed sign, especially with the Mars Uranus square that perfects and goes exact on the 26th. Okay. February 26th, this Thursday. All right. This is also going to be the last Uranus Mars square before Uranus and Mars start a new cycle in Gemini. So we had a Uranus Mars conjunction in Taurus back in 2024, I believe. It was the end of 2024. And or no, it wasn't. It was in the middle of 2024 because it's when Trump was running for office. And the day of the Uranus Mars conjunction was when there was that failed assassination attempt where he got shot in the ear. Well, I'm just going to put this all in quotes because the story goes that there was an attempted assassination and it just grazed his ear. That's what the story. That's the story. Okay, that's the story. But it happened on the day of the Uranus Mars conjunction. So with this Uranus Mars square that goes exact on February 26th, we're already seeing the buildup of that energy, but it goes exact and it perfects, and then it's going to start to die down in the days after February 26th, right? But I just want you guys to be very mindful of this energy, this kind of like rebellious, chaotic energy. It's Uranus and Taurus and Mars and Aquarius. So this is groups, or Mars and Aquarius is militant groups or collectives of people. Aquarius is groups of people, right? Aquarius is like community, groups of people. But Mars is the militants, the criminals, you know, the rebels, the outcasts. Like Mars can be he's a destructive energy. So it's like militant groups of people acting out, right? So this can be literally about protests, but also cartel members acting out, right? Like and causing chaos and causing destruction. So I want you guys to think about this. Uranus and Taurus is about food and money and about resources and stability and health. Chaos or sudden shifts or changes with that, right? I posted a story last week about Trader Joe's pulling some food from the shelves because they found glass in the food. Weird stories around food, Uranus and Taurus. Solar eclipse in Aquarius, square Uranus and Taurus. Mars in Aquarius, squaring Uranus and Taurus. So, you know, before you eat something, just make sure there's nothing in it, nothing weird in it, with this energy, because this is how it can show up. I am expecting some kind of shifts or dips with the financial market as well. In combination with Mercury going retrograde on this day, it's Mars in Aquarius, square Uranus and Taurus on top of Mercury going retrograde on this day. This all happens the same day. So this can also be about social media outages or technological outages, banking outages, electric outages, um, technology kind of failing, or also items or objects getting lost or technological devices getting lost. Pisces is a sign of loss and things that disappear, things that we have no idea what the hell happened to it. I had it in my pocket, and I got home from doing a million things. Do you hear that person honking? Do you guys hear that? Mars Uranus already showing up. That Mars Uranus square. Well, the moon's squaring Mars right now, and the moon's on Uranus right now. So the moon's in Taurus conjunct Uranus and squaring Mars in Aquarius right now at this very moment. So, so there if today's a little chaotic, or if today's a little, there's sudden changes or sudden shifts, or your schedule changes today, or some kind of technological malfunction or something, don't be surprised, okay? Because that energy is very much present today. But what was I saying? Oh my God, somebody bring me back. What was I saying before that? What was I talking about? Oh, I was talking about Pisces being a sign of loss. Yeah. So with Pisces, um, especially with Venus there, Mercury retrograde going retrograde with Venus. Oh, we're gonna talk about that. Ooh, that's a whole thing. We have Venus and Mercury going retrograde on top of Venus. So we're gonna talk about that. We can lose objects, or things can come up missing, or there can also be miscommunication, where you know we want to say something or we communicate to somebody and it gets lost. So it can be like you wanted to send a text message and then you never sent it, or this can even be, a phone call or a letter or a voicemail that you left somebody and they never received it or never saved. Like just some kind of weird glitch in the system where something doesn't get recorded, something doesn't get saved. So this is also when it comes to like computers and technology, especially with this Mercury retrograde in Pisces, make sure you're backing everything up, you're saving things. If you're like working on like a very important document, let's say you're working on your senior thesis, or you're working on a paper, make sure you're backing things up, you're saving things, because you don't want it to get lost in the sauce. You don't want, a sudden power outage or a sudden thing to get reset and all of a sudden it doesn't get saved, it doesn't get remembered, and you have to do the whole thing over again. It's a very strong likelihood with this combination of astrology for this particular Mercury retrograde. It's very easy to lose something. It's very easy to forget something. If you're traveling, you can forget your passport, you can forget something, and then it becomes a whole crisis, it becomes a whole moment. And we can also, there can be a sudden accident, things like this, falls, breaking your ankle, stuff like this. If you are someone that goes to the gym, be careful at the gym. Don't take on too much weight. I would even be mindful of doing exercises that you've never done before, okay? Or just, yeah, like, because you don't want to like hurt your back. We had a solar eclipse in Aquarius, and the axis of Aquarius in Leo is active right now, and Leo rules the back, and Aquarius rules the calves and the ankles. This is why like people are always twisting their ankles and breaking an ankle and like messing up their shins and stuff like this. It's the fact that the ankles are ruled by Aquarius. Okay. And Aquarius, you know, modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. This is why I swear the ankles are a target for Saturn and the ankles are a target for Uranus. I swear, when people, when Saturn wants to punish you, when he's causing some kind of delay, okay, what he's gonna do is he's gonna hit your knees and he's gonna hit your ankles, okay, the areas of the body that he rules. He goes for the knees. Saturn goes for the knees and he goes for the ankles, okay. And what happens when Saturn messes with you in that way? You can't walk anymore. When you're all of a sudden you're hobbling around on one foot. Okay, that's a Saturn thing. That's Uranus and Saturn ruling Aquarius, and Saturn ruling over Capricorn, the knees. So be mindful of those body parts this week while we're going through this eclipse energy. Okay. If you're going hiking and stuff like this, mountaineering, things like that, make sure you are tying your shoes and you are wearing, shoes that really support the ankles. Okay. Because you don't want to have any accidents or anything like that. Um, all this week, the energy is going to be around all this week. Okay. Also, you may see that fixed signs right now, like Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. You're, they're not being real nice. They're a little pissed off about things, or there's things that they're in conflict in some type of, they're mad and angry about things. They kind of want to stand up to somebody. They're kind of feeling a little aggressive right now. The fixed signs are a little bit more aggressive than usual. So just be mindful of how you are interacting with Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus as Mars is wrapping up in Aquarius, but also as Mars builds into this square this that goes exact on this Thursday on the 26th with Uranus. Because the fixed signs are feeling some type of way right now. They're feeling a little rebellious. They're feeling, you know, mad. They're feeling like they want to hold things accountable, hold people accountable. They're just, they're feeling a little aggressive. They're feeling a little aggressive. That's one thing they'll say. Okay, it's the fixed sign. It's the Mars. It's the Mars activation for fixed signs. Okay, so we got that. All right. So let's talk about the Mercury retrograde. So we have Mercury retrograde starting this week on Thursday, February 26th. It's gonna go for 3 weeks. Mercury always retrogrades for 3 weeks, roughly, but always for 3 weeks. So we're gonna have Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes direct on the first day of Aries season. That's crazy. So Mercury actually goes direct from the 19th to the 20th. Yeah. And that's actually when we begin Aries season, and that's when the sun goes to 0 degrees Aries on that day, from on March 20th. So Mercury goes direct at 8 degrees Pisces on March 19th to the 20th. Okay, so we have Mercury direct. So we're gonna have Mercury retrograde from the 26th until the 20th, the 26th of February until the 20th of March. And that's pretty much all of Pisces season. It's going to be all of Pisces season. Okay. So with Mercury retrograde in Pisces, we're going to be taking a look at our Pisces house. We're also going to be taking a look at our Virgo house, and we're going to be taking a look at our Gemini house. We're going to be looking at the houses that we have Pisces, Virgo, and Gemini, because these houses in our own chart in these areas of our life are up for renewal, they're up for review, they're up for reconsideration, and there's going to be some work that Mercury wants to do. There can also be elements of the past of these parts of our chart that come back, or where there's some kind of like solution, or we're trying to fix or repair something, or or even it just shows up, it just comes back from the past, and then Mercury's like, okay, well, what do you want to do with this? What do you want to do with the situation? Or how do you want to fix or repair this, right? Or you may even reconsider, you may renegotiate some things around these houses, right? So this Mercury retrograde can be about an important conversation, depending on, how it shows up in your chart. It can be about an important conversation that you need to have with a sibling, a important decision that you need to make about a job. Virgo, Mercury rules Virgo, the sign of jobs. Mercury rules Gemini, the sign of siblings, right? Aunts and uncles and cousins. So what I'm thinking of is, this Mercury retrograde can have you talking to somebody that, you haven't talked to in a long time, or they can reconnect with you, or there could be some discussions around a choice or a decision that you need to make with somebody, something like this, okay? So just be mindful of that. But it's going to be around specifically your Pisces house mostly, but also the houses ruled by Virgo and Gemini, okay? Because those houses are always up for reconsideration, up for review for you, for all of us when Mercury goes retrograde, okay? But I want to talk about Mercury retrograde this week, though. Mercury going retrograde this week. So let me go back to the current moment. Let me go back to February 23rd. This is the 27th. So Mercury goes retrograde with Venus. Venus doesn't go retrograde, but Mercury goes retrograde in a conjunction with Venus. So what we're going to have is from Wednesday to, so Mercury is sitting at 22 degrees Pisces. Mercury is not moving from 22 degrees Pisces. Okay, he's sitting there because he's stationing. So what does it mean when a planet is stationing? It literally means they are not moving because they are within a span of a few days. Some planets take longer to station. They're switching directions. So Mercury right now, what he's doing is he's doing this curve. He's doing a roundabout right now. He's doing a U-turn, and he's about to start going backwards. But what it looks like astrologically, when we're looking at a chart, what that looks like is the planet's not moving. So in the sky, though, what the planet's actually doing, from our viewpoint, a planet actually doesn't do a U-turn, but it's from our perspective on Earth. It looks like the planet is doing a U-turn, okay? And so that's what Mercury is doing. Mercury is stationing. He's doing a U-turn in the sky this week. And then he starts going backwards on the 26th, but he's sitting at 22 degrees. But what's interesting is that as Mercury is stationing and going direct, Venus conjoins Mercury. So Venus, who's in Pisces, she meets up with Mercury on Friday, February 27th. She has a conjunction with Mercury, and so we have a Venus Mercury retrograde conjunction at 22 degrees. And what's also really interesting about this is at this time, the moon is also in Cancer, making a trine to Mercury and Venus. Mercury just went retrograde the day before, and Venus, who's at 22 degrees Pisces, and the moon's in Cancer at 26. I'm looking at it at 26 Cancer. So, what does this tell me? This tells me that this week, the initial part, the first part of this Mercury retrograde is going to be about renegotiating matters of Venus, love and relationships, partnerships, legal matters, people from the past coming back, romance from the past coming back. This is especially going to be prevalent for mutable signs. If you are a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or a Sag, especially if you have your moon or your Venus or your rising in a mutable sign. Okay? There's going to be love conversations. There's going to be romantic conversations. There may be someone that comes back from the past with an apology. They want to tell you, "Hey, I miss you. I was looking at the picture that we took at the fair in 2024 when we were in the booth, and I just you crossed my mind, and I just had to reach out because like it really could have been us. It could have been us, and I'm sorry about everything that happened, but no, fuck that, okay?" I'd be really in the moment. I'd be a good actor. I really would be. I should think about that. I've been thinking about what my next profession is gonna be, and I'm like, oh, maybe musician, maybe actor. I don't know. I will see. We'll see where I go with that. Okay, we'll see where I go with that. But anyways, be mindful of this, like people coming back from the past with some bullshit. Okay, but the other thing. Okay, the other thing. All right, Spirit, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. The other thing is like we got to be very compassionate, very open. And there is good, beautiful stuff coming back from the past. Another dollar I'm getting is for some people, this can be about missed romance or missed love. Or like, let's say you had a moment where you met someone at a party and you never got their name, and you just always wondered, oh my God, what if, you know, you know, oh, I should have said something. I should have got, and then you never saw them again. But guess what? All of a sudden, this Mercury retrograde combined with Venus exalted in Pisces, you see them at another party. You run into them at the store. You run into them at the subway. And that's your fucking moment to say something and to do something and to be like, wait, 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 I don't want to let this person. Because the universe in Venus, exalted in Pisces, is bringing this person around for you, possibly again, to give you that other opportunity, to give it another chance, to give it another go. So don't be surprised. I'm telling you right now, especially starting at the end of this week, starting Thursday, okay, Thursday and Friday, especially Friday. Don't be surprised if you get a text message, you get a phone call, you get an email, okay? You get someone showing up at your door with a bouquet of flowers, all right? Um, or, you get a PayPal or you get a Venmo or Cash App, $20 message with "I miss you" on there, okay? If you're gonna send me something like that, baby, you better be hitting up my PayPal, my Venmo, my Cash App, all right? Because like, don't waste my time, all right? Like at this point, you got to give me something. You got to give me something. All right. And don't be crawling back without an offering. Okay. You don't show up back to church and not leave an offering, do you? No. When you go back to church and when you show up there once a year or two times a year on Easter and on Christmas Day, what's the thing that you do because your guilty conscience tells you, oh my God, I haven't been going to church all year. What do? You put some money in the fucking coffers. Yes, you do. Okay. You go and throw a little dono in there. You write a little check. You put your coins in there. Okay. Because why you're being eaten up by the guilt of not going to church and only showing up there two times a year. Okay. So share let's carry on that same thinking, that same philosophy when it comes to reparations and fixing and healing when it comes to relationships and partnerships. Okay, what do you have to offer? What do you have to give? What are you showing up with? What's your offering? Okay, what are you bringing me today? Okay. Right. But yeah, I just want you guys to be mindful of this. This is especially going to be for mutable signs, especially if you have a mutable rising, a mutable moon, mutable Venus, love partnership stuff for the past. This can also show up as legal stuff, okay? This could show up as legal issues, legal stuff coming back from the past, or uh, legal problems kind of getting solved and things like this. This can also be about renegotiating business contracts or renegotiating just social relationships. Mercury retrograde on top of Venus, right? Mercury retrograde wants us to renegotiate something, wants us to rethink something, wants us to talk about something, reconsider something. And it's on top of Venus, the planet of the law, the planet of relationships, the planet of connection, the planet of also money and objects, right? So this can also be about certain money problems or money issues getting solved or even being created. I will say be careful with scams, especially Mercury retrograde in Pisces, but Venus, oh my God. Be careful of getting scammed, okay? If you're online, I literally had a client last night call me, panicking. They almost got scammed. And they were like, Louie, oh my God. And so I had to do a quick little reading for them. But yeah, be careful of getting scammed, okay? It's Mercury, Venus, and Pisces. It's Pisces season, baby. Pisces is one of the signs of scams, okay? And Gemini. Pisces and Gemini. The scammers of the zodiac, okay? Scammers of the zodiac. Pisces and Gemini. And Sag is the getaway driver. Sag is the getaway. So Sag is the driver, okay? Gemini, Sag is the driver. Gemini, what is Gemini? Gemini is picking the lock. So Gemini's picking the lock, okay? Gemini's picking the lock. And Pisces is just lock. Pisces is just there because they're there for the money. They're there for the opportunity. Pisces doesn't really have a role. I think Pisces is more like the lookout. Pisces is the lookout. Give Pisces that job. Okay. Right. But yeah, so just be mindful of that with this Mercury retrograde, okay, my loves? Scams, deception, losing objects, losing money, forgetting money. You're going on vacation, you're traveling, you forget your passport. People coming back from the past, trying to solve or fix something. Forgiveness, compassion, reconciliation. These are all various themes with this Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Pisces is not a good place for Mercury. So Mercury is in his fall in Pisces. Mercury doesn't function very well in the sign of Pisces. So with that being said, this Mercury retrograde can be very confusing. We can be very indecisive. We can people may be a little bit more fantastical or erratic. There can also be an exacerbation. So if there is people that are dealing with substance abuse issues and stuff like this, there can be an exacerbation of those things, or those things can intensify or get worse. So you just want to be mindful of that. If you are someone that's on a sobriety journey, this Mercury retrograde can, trigger relapse and stuff. So just be mindful of that. Okay. Be careful with indulgence with this Mercury retrograde. We have the North Node. So we're gonna have the North Node and the Sun together, and the North Node is in Pisces. And Pisces season is gonna feature the North Node. Um, where Pisces season that we're in, it features the North Node. We're already in Pisces season. Duh. Come on now, Louis. Catch up. I'm like living in the past. Come on, Louis, catch up. Be present. So with the North Node, with the Sun and the North Node transiting together, this can be about obsessive, compulsive habits, behaviors, thoughts. The North Node really is an obsessive, intense energy. It's very demanding. It's very forceful sometimes. People that have uh, Sun North Node together, Mars North Node together sometimes, North Node on the rising. They can be very intense, very passionate, very forceful, very commanding energies. So I just want you guys to be mindful of this energy this week as the Sun and the North Node are transiting together, or they're coming into conjunction here on Friday. I'm looking at February 27th, Friday, February 27th, and the North Node and the Sun are together at 9 degrees. On the same time that Mercury and Venus are together at 22 degrees. But I just got to let you guys know, okay? 22 degrees is a degree of tragedy and loss. It's a degree of really difficult things happening. And Mercury stationing and beginning his retrograde at 22 degrees, I do think we're going to see more tragedy, more illness, more loss. I think we're going to see more celebrities passing away. We're in between eclipses. Um, It's just going to be a really strong theme. Spiritual people passing away, leaders passing away, politicians possibly passing away, stuff like this. Significant women. It's a Mercury retrograde on top of Venus at 22 degrees. Very prominent women passing away. So we just need to be very mindful of this energy. Where there's like the cosmic filtering out of energy. There's things exiting, people leaving, their souls literally departing, souls departing and leaving, going to the other side of the veil, right? They're exiting the material world, like, right? But there's also creation and life and birth. And, I do think that this is also going to be a season of, with the Four of Wands that I pulled, with the tarot for the week in the beginning of the live, um, like new birth, like new life, like creation, and even like pregnancy, fertility, I cannot even tell you how many readings I've done in the last like 3 months that have been about pregnancy and fertility for women. Just yesterday, even, you know, and because we're in this kind of period right now with Jupiter in Cancer, right? Jupiter's about to go direct in Cancer next month. We're in this period right now where, the North Node in Pisces, Jupiter exalted in Cancer. We're in this period right now where people are feeling like they want to bring forth new life, or people are feeling like they want to birth something new or create something new. And this doesn't have to be about, actual children. This can also be about a business that you want to create. This can be about a book that you want to write. This can be about a property. Not, Cancer is also the sign of property and real estate. So this can also be about land that you want to invest in, or storefront that you want to get, some kind of digital space that you want to create, something like this. You want to start putting your art up. You want to start selling your art. You want to, make your art business more, or your even, art business more real, right? Give it a name and actually, get the website going, things like this. So we need to be very receptive to this energy and very open to this energy of like birth and creation, but also the energy of just gestation, where things are in the womb. Okay. So it's like it may not be birthed quite yet, but this can be a gestation period, the 9 month pregnancy, where we're going through the birthing and the growth of the thing, but we haven't actually launched it or created it or birthed it. We're not ready for that yet, right? So we're still in the gestation period. And it's interesting because last night, um, before I went to bed, I was like, okay, let me just like pull a card, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be doing tarot more tomorrow morning. Let me just pull a card for the week. Let me see like what the energies are. And the card that came out was the Fool card in reverse. And the Fool card is the card of zero. It's the card of potential. It's a card of gestation. And so when I saw the Fool card in reverse come out last night, the message that it gave me was, we're planning and preparing for the birth and the creation, but we're not necessarily starting or launching quite yet. There's this energy of things being in gestation, things being blueprinted, things being planned out, but not necessarily birthed quite yet. Okay. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. If you're finding yourself in this space of transition where you're like, okay, well, I am kind of like planning and getting ready to do this new thing, or I feel like I'm moving towards this new thing, but I don't know when I'm going to be launching it yet, or I'm still going through that like planning, blueprinting process. Honor that space that you're in. It's a very creative space. It's a very liminal space, but it's kind of like it's also a space of in between. It's like neither here nor there, so it can be a little uncomfortable, but just lean into it. Okay, very important. All right. So yeah, so the Mercury retrograde in Pisces, um, on top of with Venus, starting with Venus. This is going to be a very interesting Mercury retrograde. We're going to be talking about it over the next 3 weeks. It's going to be a continuous conversation because there's going to be multiple different points with the Mercury retrograde. What I will say though is this Mercury retrograde is going to be extremely positive and beneficial and beautiful and opportunistic as well, where there's going to be kind of like lucky opportunities or divine intervention. And we're going to get that part of the Mercury retrograde is going to show up not this week, next week. And we're going to really start to see this like beautiful, expansive, opportunistic, divine alignment, you know, people dropping down on a knee, getting engaged, people securing the loan to buy the house. We're going to be seeing a lot of this next week, specifically starting around Friday, March 6th, 7th, and going into the following week. So it's going to be going like from like the 6th, 7th, all the way until like the 13th, 14th, around there. Yeah. And the reason being is because Mercury, who's retrograde, is going to start forming a trine, and the trine goes exact with Jupiter in Cancer. He does an exact trine with Jupiter in Cancer on Sunday, March 8th. So we're going to have this beautiful trine with Mercury and Jupiter, who are both retrograde and who both go direct in March. So Mercury finishes his retrograde on March 19th to the 20th, and Jupiter is moving forward and goes direct in March on the 13th, I believe. Let me just double check. Hold on. Earlier. Way earlier. Oh, the 10th. 9th to the 10th. So Jupiter moves forward, goes direct from the 9th to the 10th, which is literally 2 days. 2 days after he forms an exact trine with Mercury retrograde. So this tells me from the weeks of like from March 8th going into like March 13th, and even like the weeks following going into Aries season, with Mercury going direct and Jupiter going direct, and then us wrapping up eclipse season, and then us ingressing into Aries season, where Saturn just moved into Aries and the Sun Saturn conjunction. We're gonna have a Sun Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries at the beginning of Aries season. It's like forward movement. It's like new opportunities. It's like expansive opportunities. It's like decisions and choices to move towards new things, or where we get lucky. Even planning to move forward, setting a new foundation, moving forward with the blueprint in some type of way. We're going to see a lot of really cool stuff showing up for people. And this can also be about ceremony, celebration, graduation, promotion, like things like this. And the signs that are really going to be receiving the benefit of this are going to be the water signs and the earth signs, So Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, I think are really going to be receiving the benefits of this kind of beautiful trine between Jupiter and Mercury, Jupiter retrograde and Mercury retrograde. Um, this energy, what I will say though, this water element energy hasn't been easy, and this is not going to be an easy Mercury retrograde for fire signs. Okay, the Jupiter retrograde hasn't been easy for fire signs. So if you are a Leo, Aries, or a Sag, um, if you have Leo, Aries, or Sag, Sun, Moon, or Rising, um, this astrology in this Mercury retrograde is more about completions and loss and endings. Okay. Same thing. It could be similar for air signs too. This astrology for air sign, sun, moon, rising, fire sign, sun, moon, and rising. This astrology can be very difficult for you. This Mercury retrograde can be very difficult. Okay. And it can be more about purging and endings and like loss and illness or sickness or things like this. And this is because of the houses involved. Okay. So for fire signs, the water element occupies houses 12, 8, and 4. And for air signs, the uh, water element occupies houses 2, 6, and 10, right? So for air signs, houses 2 and 6, not that, those are a little tough. They could be a little tough. The reason why the second house is a little rough because it opposes to the eighth. The reason why the sixth house is one of the most challenging houses, but it also opposes the 12th house, right? And then houses 4, 8, and 12 in general are very difficult, very hard. So um, this Mercury retrograde on top of the Jupiter retrograde for fire sign, air sign risings, your sun, your moons, or even if your moon is there, this can be a little emotionally challenging. This can be a little difficult. This can be more about loss or tragedy or endings or things being taken away from you, layoffs is a very common thing, or people not working, or finding it hard to get jobs or find work. That's been showing up a lot for the air signs and the fire signs. It's one of the things I've noticed. Aquarius rising, Leo rising, because you guys have the Pisces Virgo thing going on in your Leo rising. Yeah, second house, eighth house access. Uh, yeah. Aquarius has Pisces in the second house. Leo has Virgo in the second house. Yeah. So you guys have the Pisces Virgo thing going in the second house, eighth house access. Um, Money things have been really showing up for Leos and Aquariuses, financial losses and stuff like this, accumulation of debt has been showing up for them. And yeah, also for what was the other one? What was the other one? The other signs. Oh, Aries, Libra rising too. Yeah. Aries, Libra rising has been another one that's been having, Aries, Libra rising, Aquarius, Leo rising have been going through some challenges. Because the water element, right? All this accumulation of energy in the water element, Jupiter in Cancer, the Mercury retrograde in Pisces, right? Happening in either the eighth house, the 12th house, the fourth house, can bring some challenges or bring some issues. So I just want you guys to be aware of that, okay? I just want you guys to be aware of that. This can look like good positive stuff, but there can be also an element or other things happening in their life that are very challenging or difficult. Okay, so we're at 121. Um, thank you guys for staying tapped in. All right, let's kind of go. Okay, so we talked about the Mercury retrograde in Pisces. We talked about the Mars Uranus square. Let me see if there's any other notorious, notable, noteworthy astrology for this week. Before I start going over the moon. Oh, someone just sent me money. Thank you. It's like I love what I do. I just love what I do. I love what I do. Um, People just be sending me random money all the time. Like it's so random. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, I'll just get like $20. I'll get like $15. I'll get like $30. It's like out of nowhere. I'm just like, oh, y'all really love me. Look at the way Spirit just making me so abundant. Just bringing abundance. I'm so grateful. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I love you guys so much for being so generous with me, you know, for being so generous. I appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about the astrology. Okay, let's get it. All right. So I'm gonna tell you right now, with the moon is going through some things this week. The moon is going through some things this week. I think this is gonna be a little bit of a stressful, anxious week. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Um, we start off this week today with the moon. Let's go back to the current moment right now. The moon's literally in Taurus, 26 degrees Taurus right now at this very moment, conjunct Uranus. Okay. And the moon is separating from a square with Mars, right? So today going to tomorrow, there can be some like neurotic, erratic, chaotic, also very fun, exciting, electric energy. Has anyone been feeling this energy of like they just been feeling like they've been buzzing, like their consciousness, their spirit, their nervous system? There's just been like this buzz and this like hum. I'm like, is there bees around? Like, what's going on? It's because we're in this solar eclipse in Aquarius energy, and it's because Uranus is so active. Okay, Uranian energy is really active right now. So I just want you guys to be mindful of from today to tomorrow, going to tomorrow, of this kind of uh, chaotic, dangerous, sudden, erratic, electrifying, magnetic energy that's like about, okay, when the moon's in Taurus. The moon's been in Taurus the last few days though. The moon was in Taurus, went into Taurus on Saturday night, and the moon was in Taurus yesterday as well. But I don't know. It's interesting. Like, even though the moon has been in Taurus, it's been responding to Venus, who's been in Pisces and who's been in an exalted state. But the reason why things haven't been so grounded or so peaceful is because we're in eclipse energy. So we're getting a modification of what we would typically see with the moon and Taurus transit, where things feel a little bit more grounded, or things feel a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more calm, or things are feeling a little bit more sensuous, or we're feeling a little bit more not low energy, but more calm, more relaxed. We're not really getting that for a few reasons. The first is because Uranus is so active. And the second is because we're in eclipse energy. We're in eclipse season. So we're not getting this like peace and groundedness and this grace that we would typically see with a Taurus moon transit being ruled by Venus and Pisces, right? But there can be this energy of needing rest and needing to be grounded and needing to like slow down and needing to kind of just be calm and be relaxed and like be in your own little private world. You know, this Pisces energy, Mercury, Venus, and Pisces, Sun in Pisces, combined with the mood in Taurus today can kind of have us feeling a little bit more central, a little bit more soft, or even just a need for privacy. You know, I love saying it like that, by the way. If I could be British in a moment, I'll be British in a moment. And honestly, that gave me a little bit of a, I had to like privacy, you know, I had a little Bridgerton moment right there. If you need privacy, make sure you give yourself that, okay? But yeah, there's definitely like some like erratic, chaotic energy that we're feeling, okay? And we need to be mindful of that, all right? So then the moon goes into Gemini. So tomorrow the moon goes into Gemini. And that's when things get a little silly. So this evening going till tomorrow, actually later on today. So let me go by 12-hour increments here. So by 9 p.m. tonight, Pacific time, the moon is going to be in Gemini, and that's when things get a little silly. Things get a little goofy. Yeah, I'm looking at 1 in the morning and the moon's I'm looking at 1:30 in the morning Pacific time and the moon's already at 4 degrees Gemini, okay? So, Gemini, moon in Gemini, sun in Pisces. Okay? This is very confusing. This is very erratic energy. This is a lot, you know, Pisces and Gemini, when the sun's in Pisces and the moon's in Gemini, these are signs that really don't understand each other. Right? Does anybody have a combination of Pisces and Gemini in their chart? Like you're a Pisces rising with a Gemini moon, or you're like a Gemini rising with like a Pisces sun. These signs are like they do not understand each other. Like they have a lot to do with miscommunication and confusion. Gemini is a very logical sign. It's very rational. It needs to like see the evidence and it kind of wants to like talk about things and it wants to kind of like dissect things and it wants to analyze and stuff like this. Analyze is more of a Virgo word, but I'm going to give Gemini the word analyze as well because it's, you know, they're both ruled by Mercury, Virgo, and Gemini. Where Pisces is more about going with the flow and belief and faith and like we don't need all the facts, you know, we could believe in the fiction, you know, I can go ahead and just believe it or trust in it, but I don't need the information, right? Where in Pisces is a very silent avoidant sign, where Gemini is a very confrontational, let's talk about it, let's address it sign. So I want you guys to be aware of this conflict between the sun in Pisces and Venus and Mercury in Pisces, the North Node in Pisces, and the moon in Gemini over the next 3 days, starting tonight around like 9, 10 o'clock and going into Wednesday. Because the moon in Gemini being ruled by Mercury, who's not moving, got to think about this. The moon in Gemini is responding to Mercury, who's in Pisces, who's about to go retrograde on Thursday, right? So Mercury's not moving. So, in some ways, with the moon in Gemini and Mercury being at a standstill, okay, not moving, he's sitting at 22 degrees because he's stationing to go retrograde. We may literally be in a moment of standstill. And that's what this like moon and Gemini transit Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday can feel like. Like there's nothing moving, right? Or like we're just in a moment of pause. Or there's just like a moment of like, I don't know, I was like getting like a moment of nothingness, or even like a moment of just like anxiety and stress and like overthinking and just even confusion. You know, Moon in Gemini, Sun, Venus, Mercury in Pisces, Mercury about to go retrograde in Pisces. It's like confused. Like, oh, I don't really know where to go. I don't know what to decide. I don't know what to do. What I will say to that, what I'll speak to that is don't worry about it. Let the decision, let the choice come to you. Let all the information reveal itself so you can make an informed decision. Don't feel pressured to like try to figure things out or try to sift through things or anything like that. Mercury's literally going retrograde in the Pisces, right? Like the moon's in Gemini, okay? This could also be about short distance or long distance travel. This can be the moon in Gemini transit Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Could be about teaching, learning, classes, hanging out with your aunts and uncles, seeing a sibling, Gemini things, Gemini things. Being very busy out in the town, hanging out with friends, needing to go to the DMV, needing to go ahead and pay your registration, renew your driver's license, maybe because you've been driving around with an expired license. I don't know what you're doing. All right, Gemini Sag. That's definitely Gemini. Oh, I didn't even realize my license has been expired for the last 3 months. That's the Gemini Sag Pisces mistake right there. Driving around with an expired license and had no idea. Didn't even know. Clueless. Be mindful of this type of stuff, okay? Make sure you're getting all you're dotting all your I's and you're crossing all your T's. All right. Don't let any things like that fall between the cracks, especially with this Mercury retrograde coming up, okay? Because it might be time to go back to the DMV or to renew a certain license or renew a contract, or you may need to, pay off those tickets and stuff like that, um, stuff like that. So just be mindful of that, okay? With the moon in Gemini. So then things get really sweet, but also a little chaotic because we're still in the eclipse energy. Things get really sweet. Let me see if there's any particular aspects that I want to kind of call out before we move on. So, Sun square Moon on Tuesday, okay. That can be challenges between the mind and the heart, or challenges between the self and family. Our emotional needs, the what the moon needs and what the sun needs are in conflict some type of way. That's Tuesday, the Sun square the Moon. Um, Also, kind of like fated karmic events, my loves. Tuesday, Wednesday, as the moon is squaring the nodes. We're in the eclipse energy, so whatever's meant to happen is gonna happen. But then on Wednesday, the moon squares Venus and Mercury. So the moon is square Venus and the moon is square Mercury, and Mercury's about to go retrograde, right? So on Wednesday, that square from the moon to Venus and Mercury can be about miscommunication, can be about conversations or information received that is not pleasant, or that is difficult, or that we need more clarity around in some type of way. Moon in Gemini squaring Venus, squaring Mercury. This can also be about love, relationship stuff, or legal stuff, okay, being triggered or being activated, especially if you're a mutable sign. So just be mindful of that, okay? All right, but let's move on. So on Thursday, the moon goes into Cancer. And this is when things get really nice and kind of really sweet, but also we're in eclipse energy. So I'm just thinking about, we had a solar eclipse in Aquarius, and even though the moon's in Cancer and it's with Jupiter and it's making a trine to the sun, it's going to be trining Venus and Mercury. We're going to have a moon Jupiter conjunction trining Venus and Mercury. It still feels like for some people, this is showing up as an element of tragedy or loss or endings or releasing of things or moving away from things or grieving things, where for other people this is showing up as more of an opportunity or more of an expansion or more of like a divine intervention or even a blessing or something lucky happening. Okay, so it's like a little bit of a mixed bag. It depends on how it's hitting your chart. But what I will say is moon in Cancer trying the sun in Pisces, very sentimental energy, very emotional, okay, very soft. This is energy that's going to be very compassionate. It's have this feeling very creative, very inspired. If you are someone that does want to create a baby or make a baby, I'd highly recommend that you do that on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think with the moon being in Cancer with Jupiter in Cancer and the moon Jupiter trining Venus and trining Mercury, to me this is a very fertile, abundant, expansive transit. This is very positive energy, and I think if you want to go ahead and post up your resume online for a new job, if you want to go looking for real estate, go home searching, you're planning on moving or something like this, I think this would be a beautiful weekend to do that. You know, um, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as the moon is transiting Cancer and making these beautiful trines. What I will say though is this can also be about, conversations or communication or things happening within the family in some type of way, you know? Um, there's a conversation we need to have with mom or dad. There's a conversation we need to have with our kids. There's certain choices or decisions that we're making that are going to impact family members or impact others. And so we need to let them know about it, right? So, or even just getting, okay, let's say you're making a decision or a choice and it's going to impact everybody or there's other people involved. You need to let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What is your guys' input? What's your guys' insight, right? So there's this kind of like awareness of like family and this awareness of others that we need to have um Thursday, Friday, Saturday as the moon is transiting Cancer, okay? But Cancer, right? Ruled by the moon. We just had an eclipse. An eclipse is connected to the sun and the moon, right? That's exactly what happens during an eclipse. The light of the sun or the moon gets blocked out. So with the moon going to Cancer in Leo, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, look at Saturday, the moon goes into Leo, the moon's in Leo. We're gonna see an intensification, or we may even see some movement of the eclipse energy causing shifts or changes in people's lives, and it literally manifesting as the moon is transiting Cancer and Leo, because these are the signs of the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon just went through a traumatic event. They just got eclipsed. They just went through an eclipse, right? The moon just went through a traumatic event, especially because the moon was being burned by the rays of the sun, right? So a solar eclipse is when the moon is passing in front of the rays of the sun. So the moon is getting all the heat, is getting blasted by the heat of the sun, right? And then on Earth, right, because it's the sun, the moon, and then Earth, what we're seeing, we're getting shadowed by the moon. So an eclipse, a solar eclipse, is Earth, us on Earth, getting being in the moon's shadow. And then us seeing the ring of fire. It was a ring of fire eclipse, right? So that's the very what do you call this? Um the ex the outline of the sun. I'm trying to find the word. The outline of the sun, right? In front of the moon. That's what we're seeing during a solar eclipse. So the moon is afflicted. The moon is getting burned by the rays of the sun during a solar eclipse. That's what's happening. So with the moon going into Cancer, there could be some karmic things around the moon, around moon stuff, that we can experience. So this can be like, grandparents, elders getting sick or getting ill, people need to go to the hospital, people passing away, like stuff like this. So I just want you guys to be very mindful of this energy because we're in between eclipse season. Even though these are really positive transits, we also got to keep in mind that these positive transits are happening within a window of time where, the eclipse energy is very active and stuff. So I just want you guys to be mindful of that, okay? Um, Another thing that I'm noticing is Mars goes to 29 degrees Aquarius and Mars goes into Pisces come March 2nd, I believe. March 3rd. The 2nd to the 3rd, Mars goes into Aquarius or into Pisces. Yeah. Right as the moon is at 29 degrees Leo, opposing in 29 degrees Mars in Aquarius. So I'm looking at Monday, March 2nd. I'm looking at the moon at 28 degrees Leo, squaring Uranus and Taurus at 27, and directly opposing Mars and Aquarius at 29. So it's like, and this is leading into our eclipse. This is leading into our eclipse that we have on March 3rd, our lunar eclipse in Virgo. Moon Mars opposition. Mars Uranus square that we have on Thursday this week, but it builds into the lunar eclipse in Virgo. So what I will say is like this is very frantic, kind of unstable, kind of chaotic energy. The transits are even showing that this weekend is going to be kind of intense, okay? Especially Sunday of this week. Sunday of this weekend is going to be a little intense. And I just want you guys to be mindful of this kind of energy, okay? Just be mindful of it. Be careful, like, don't do anything too crazy or too dangerous or anything like that. You know what I mean? This is definitely not a time to like do any kind of skydiving or cliff diving or anything like that. If you're a thrill seeking type of person, you go seek those thrills, okay? But just with boundaries and with certain limitations where you're not putting yourself in danger. Especially if your chart is being lit up by these transits, okay? Especially if your chart is being lit up by these transits. But yes, my loves. So on Saturday, as the moon goes into Leo, it's gonna oppose Pluto and Aquarius. So Saturday, February 28th, the moon opposite Pluto, that can be a moment of transformation or change, a moment of deep psychological realization or epiphany. So you can like put all the pieces together, everything kind of like makes sense. This can also be about fallouts with friends. We're in a solar eclipse in Aquarius cycle. Aquarius is a sign of friends and social groups. So, Moon in Leo is kind of activating the eclipse energy a little bit, and there could be some things shown to us about friends, and there's things around ostracization, being kicked out of a friend group, or even removing oneself from a social group or from a friend group, or even like the family group if possible, right? Like, oh, I don't rely with these people no more, this is not my family, right? Like needing to kind of separate yourself and put up boundaries and emancipate, or even emancipating yourself, freeing yourself from the karmic obligation that you have to certain groups. That could be like a theme for people, okay? Especially with the moon in Leo opposite Pluto and Aquarius, and the moon in Leo's opposite Mars come Monday. And we'll talk about that with the week ahead astrology on Monday of next week, okay? But yeah, my love, so big astrology of this week. What's going on this week? Uranus square Mars, Thursday to Friday. Mercury retrograde, starting on Thursday, going all the way until March 19th, March 20th, when Mercury goes direct. So this Mercury retrograde is going to be around all Pisces season. Mercury retrograde on top of Venus. So Mercury, Venus together this week for the initial part of the Mercury retrograde, being about relationships, renegotiating partnerships, lovers coming back from the past, things like this. Next week, Mercury it retrogrades back into a trine with Jupiter and the Sun. Good opportunistic things, expansive growth, fertility, procreation, gestation period, blueprinting, planning, acquisition of property, talking to our mother and father about the past, having addressed things from the past, things like this, okay? Themes like that. Um, and then in between the moon in Gemini, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's feeling a little goofy. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's feeling a little wonky. It's feeling a little goofy. We may be feeling like things are not moving. We may be caught in a moment of pause, right? The moon's in Gemini, responding to Mercury, who's stationed at 22 degrees. I'm just picking up that there's going to be more tragedy and more loss and stuff like this, my loves. I feel like, I don't know, I'm just kidding. I'm getting like there's going to be more, I'm feeling like more tragedy and more like difficult things. So, okay, we're gonna see some things with celebrities and stuff like that with the moon in Gemini. Um, Also with the media, interesting. There could be journalists, journalism, um, media presenters, even like shows, sitcoms, news shows. There could be some, people get laid off, people get let go. Like we had with what's his name? Who's the guy? His show got canceled for like 3 days and then it came back. Jimmy Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. We can see some interesting stuff with Jimmy Kimmel type people. That was actually the Uranus Mars. I think that was the Uranus Mars conjunction as well. Oh, he's about to come out with the comedy album. That's funny. He had that whole thing. Yeah. Was that November of last year? I think that was last. Was that this year or last year? That was last year, right? I believe that everything happened with Jimmy Kimmel. The Jimmy Kimmel cancellation. I think that was during Scorpio season. When was that? Oh, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, November 6th. Yeah, Scorpio season. Yeah, because he's a Scorpio. So he's having like a Uranus Sun opposition right now that was triggered during Scorpio season. So it was November 6th. Yeah, it was November 6th. A new episode, I guess. Oh, that was the show. That ended up getting canceled. It was actually September 17th. I think it was around the eclipses. ABC suspended the show following controversial remarks. Yeah, September 17th. Yeah, it was in Virgo season. It was like around the eclipses. Yeah. But yeah, my loves. So that's the astrology of the week. That wraps up our week ahead astro. Final thoughts for the week ahead and for just this like current moment that we're in. Final thoughts. Final thoughts. Okay, my little Jerry Springer moment. Final thoughts. Be very open to sudden shifts and changes in life direction right now. Okay. Um, Understand that if something leaves or exits, or something falls apart or doesn't work out in this current moment in time, it's because it's more than likely tied to karma or fate or destiny. And more than likely, there's a certain lesson that maybe you have to learn. Okay. This is a very important period to really focus on yourself, on what you want outside of other people's desires, expectations, intentions, dreams for you, right? A lot of the things that we think we want are projections from the outside world. What do I mean by that, right? We grow up watching Disney movies, watching love and romance, right? So we end up kind of developing this idea that, okay, well, if I'm not happy, love will bring me happiness, right? But that's actually a desire or a dream or an idea of happiness that we absorbed and that we learned from the outside world. It's not actually genuine or authentic to who we are, right? Because maybe if we search our hearts and we'll come to realize, like, wait a minute, maybe it isn't a partnership or relationship that's going to bring me the sense of fulfillment or completion or happiness. That's something that I got to go ahead and search within myself to find, right? So I do think we're in this period, with, especially with Saturn Neptune, who just ingressed into Aries in the Saturn Neptune conjunction. We're in this period of really having to connect to the truth and the truth and authenticity. Oh my God, I can't speak today. Mercury's going retrograde. That must be it. Um, we have to connect to the truth and the authenticity of our individual desires. That function outside or against our community, our family, our relationships, our friendships, right? Sometimes what it is that we want, how it is that we conceive success for ourselves, the goals, the dreams, and the ambitions that we have individually, they are a threat or they go against or they create conflict with the other people that we have in our life, with our family, with our friends, with our lovers, with our kids, whatever, right? But it's very important that we honor the things that we want for ourselves. Because let me tell you what happens. When we abandon ourselves, we abandon our goals, our desires, our dreams, we end up getting very spiteful, we get resentful, we get depressed, we get sad, we get mad, we get frustrated, we get apathetic. Okay. And who are the first people that we project this energy onto? The people around us. Our kids, our husband, our wife, our mom, our dad, our family members, our friends. The first people that we project our own lack of contentment onto, and the first people that we blame, are the people that are around us and the people that we actually love the most. We blame our kids for our lack of success, right? We blame our spouse. Oh, I got married early and, and I never went to college and it's all because of you. But no, not fair to do that, because ultimately, at the end of the day, and this is what's going to happen when you get to the gates of heaven and you are going through your life review and you're talking to your lawyer and you have to show up for your court date in heaven on the other side of the veil once you move on. They're going to tell you there was nothing stopping you but you. You have the agency. We were sending you the letters. We gave you the opportunity. We gave you the resources. We were giving you the yes. We were showing you the way forward. And you didn't take it because you chose comfort, you chose security, You chose compliance, chose acquiescence, and you chose to accept false desires, false goals, false dreams that were given to you or imprinted onto you by others instead of trusting and following your own individual goals and dreams. You're going to get to the other side of the gate. You're going to get to the gates of heaven, and you know what Spirit's going to tell you? God's going to tell you, baby, you got nobody to blame but yourself. Okay? And you heard it here first. You heard it here first. All right? They're going to show you. Look what Louis told you. Back on February 23rd of 2026, they're going to be like, look what Louis said. You ain't got nobody to blame but yourself. Everything else is projection. So it's Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, okay, it's important that you really get clear around what it is that you want. What do you want? What do you desire? What do you want to achieve? And like purify the desire, search them. Be like, question them. Oh, do I really want this? Do I really want this? Is this really going to bring me peace or contentment? Is this something that I came up with myself? Does this really align with my heart? Does this goal, this dream, this vision, this desire align with my heart? Does this feel good? Does this feel like a yes in my body? If it doesn't, you got to continue to search. You got to continue to quest. You know what I mean? So one of the things I tell people all the time is passion, devotion, excitement, purpose is something that we cultivate, that we build, that we discover for ourselves. We are always expecting the universe, God, spirit, other people to give us meaning, to generate meaning in our life. But that's actually something that we got to do for ourselves. We generate purpose. We generate meaning. We search for it. It's something that we got to create. And it's part of our karmic contract with the Creator. A big part of our contract with the Creator, and the reason why we're here in this lifetime, is to create the life. Create the life that we want. And many people are not proactively engaged with their own lived experience. Their life is an amalgamation, is an accumulation of a response to events, to things. And it's sourced for many people out of trauma, out of tragedy, out of victimhood, out of loss. This is why, they look around their life and like, what the fuck? It's so messy. It's so chaotic. There's no unified theme. There's no overarching story or narrative. It's because there's no direction. There's no goal. There's no intention. There's no cultivation of purpose. And there's no, search or quest. That's another big part of it. Another big piece of it is the search and the quest, right? You got to search. You got to quest for meaning. You got to discover purpose in your life. It's like an RPG. For those of you that are video gamers, I'm a video gamer, so I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I grew up playing video games. So, Counter-Strike, World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, Diablo, League of Legends. My big game is League of Legends. I've been playing League of Legends for years, and I still play it on the phone. But I love video games because they're a great metaphor for life. And I don't know if any of you guys know what an RPG is, but an RPG, it stands for a role-playing game. And what an RPG is a story. It's a game that's pretty much a story, and you have to go through certain levels, and your character develops and things like this, right? But so our life is like an RPG. But the story and the narrative, when you play a video game, the story and the narrative is already scripted. It's already written in a lot of ways, right? Our story, our narrative, our lived experience, our RPG, this is something that we got to create for ourselves. There is a certain container of fated, karmic, destined things about your lived experience, about your story, about your narrative that you're not going to have control over. That's a given, right? Same thing in the video game, right? You're given a certain character, and what I mean by this, you have a certain body, you have a certain personality, you have a certain, disposition, you have a gender or whatever, right? That you've been given by the creator, and this is what you got to work with. And it's just in like And this is also when it comes to like your social position, right? Like the cards you were dealt, right? You were born into this family, you were born this race, you were born this gender, you were born into this culture, you were born into this area, right? And you got to work with that. That's the cards you begin. That's what you got to work with, right? Those are the bare elements of the RPG. That's the beginning. That's what you've been given. And what are you going to build with it? What are you going to do with it? That's the big question. That's what God's asking you. That's what Spirit is. God is literally looking at us right now, looking at like we're an ant colony, looking at like what are you gonna do with what I've given you? What are you gonna do with the life that I've given you? What are you gonna do with the talents I've given you? What are you gonna do with this body that I've given you? What are you gonna build with it? Right? What story are you going to write for yourself? So, when it comes to our lived experience, there's a certain amount of ownership that we need to take over it. We got to be responsible to that self discovery, and we got to be responsible in the way that we build the life that we want for ourselves. Otherwise, we end up with a life that's very unorganized, that has no unified vision or unified direction or unified purpose. And it's very kind of chaotic and messy and very scattered, you know? And I see this a lot. I see this with a lot of clients. You know, they have three jobs and they're like struggling. They're trying to make it, and they're over here and they're over there and they're over. It's just like bouncing around. It's like they're bouncing around. There's no unified focus. There's no unified vision. There's no direction. It's just very scattered. It's very chaotic. It's very messy. We don't want to live like that. You know, universe, God, spirit, the divine, life responds to intention, responds to a desire, responds to passion, responds to discipline and structure as well. You know, when you sacrifice things, when you are abstinent, when you like let go of things, especially things that are unhealthy or bad or toxic, you get rewarded by spirit and the divine. And this is why you see there's so many people, musicians, artists, actors, okay, politicians, right? Where they went sober, they moved, they challenged themselves to go to school and get a degree, whatever. And in that process of overcoming that challenge, they got the blessing and the reward of a successful career, of fame, of riches, of wealth, of love, of partnership, right? They worked on their toxicity, they worked on themselves, and all of a sudden now they have good love, good partnership, right? So it's like the reward that we get for the work that we put into our life is also very, very important, you know? And we just got to be intentional about that. We got to be very aware. We got to be involved with our life. We got to be very involved with our life experience. It's super important, very, very important. And if you don't know what that direction is, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're just raw dogging life, living moment to moment with there's no overarching theme, there's no overarching vision. Sit with yourself, get to know yourself, spend like literally go into isolation, like get alone time, get get to know yourself, get to know who you are, confront yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, okay? Because that's where you start. That's where the beginning is at. That's where you can start to uncover, and start to discover and start to like figure out what it is that I really want. But we kind of have to go quiet, and we have to turn off the noise of the environment, and we have to stop listening to what's going on in the outside world, because a lot of us are so confused. A lot of people get very confused around what it is they really want or what will bring them joy or what they're actually passionate about because there's so much noise around them, you know? And sometimes we just got to turn off the noise to really be able to listen to ourselves and get silent so we can hear what our heart and our spirit is telling us. You know what I mean? So, okay, my love. But yeah, that was my final thoughts. A little bit of a sermon there at the end. Little bit of a sermon there at the end, okay? But hey, it is. I'm a ninth house where I can't help it. I'm a preacher. And in love with a preacher man. It's funny because actually, I may have told you guys this before. I had a past life. I got a download from one of my a person that I go to, and they ended up telling me that I was a preacher in a past life. And I'm like, it makes so much sense because I can feel that so deeply, and I can see myself doing that in this lifetime as well, like preaching. Maybe one day we'll see. All right, my loves, have a beautiful, blessed day. Have you guys been typing? I have not been able to see the chat for the last like 45 minutes, hour. Let me pull out my iPad. Hold on. Have you guys been typing? Have people been saying things? Let me pull this up real quick. In and out of the preacher man. Hold on. Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm enjoying my life. Oh, there's Kim. Okay, no, yeah. Someone bought a badge. Thank you for buying a badge. Oh, thank you guys for buying badges. Damn, I missed it. I watched the replay. Thank you. Yeah, someone asked. Okay, we could do a little bit of oh, look at they're all the chat is showing up here. Someone asked, can't our Saturn placement tell us about that? Our karmic contract? Yes. Yeah, your Saturn placement will tell you about your karma, the house and the sign that you have your Saturn in. Also, whatever planets, are we still here? Whatever planets your Saturn touches in your chart, in the houses that are also ruled by Saturn. There we go, yeah. So the house is ruled by Saturn, and whatever sign and house you have Saturn in, the signs of the houses that are ruled by Capricorn and Aquarius in your chart, and also whatever Saturn is touching. So if you have Saturn trine Venus, you have Saturn touching Mercury, you have Saturn opposite the sun, you have karma with that planet and those things associated with that planet as well. Someone said, if your human design determination is thirst, you're actually designed to preach. Oh, really? Thank you. Tell me more about myself. Oh, it's funny. That's really funny. I'm a na 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 preacher man. I'm sorry, my ADD's kicking in. That's a there's a song like, all right, my loves, I'm gonna end it here because you guys are just gonna sit here in my and be present with my ADDness, and you don't deserve that, okay? I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed week ahead. Mercury's going retrograde, so make sure that you're just backing everything up and before you purchase things, especially if you're getting things from like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever, make sure it's real and it's true. Don't get scammed. Don't get taken advantage of. Trust your gut, trust your instincts, trust your intuition. Stay flexible, go with the flow, don't be chaotic. But if you got to talk some shit and call someone out because you're not happy with something, you go and do that, okay? Make sure you advocate for yourself. Personal advocacy is a very important thing with Saturn and Aries. We got to become our own best advocate. We got to become our best cheerleader. We got to become our own best supporter, you know? Advocate for yourself, my love, okay? Speak up for yourself, all right? Don't be afraid to call some shit out or to call some people out, all right? I love you all so much. See you guys. Mwah. Bye.